Coast Avengers. West Coast Avengers.
There's only one mantra that you all need to know. That's that one over there. See Todd, bye Todd.
Hello there, my friends. Dave Angerinos. It's West Coast Wednesday, hanging out with comic book dramedy. It's dramedy because there can't be drama without comedy. It's a dramedy. How does my new microphone sound? I bet it sounds great. I'm using the Manosphere microphone, the Shure M7. Trust me, I don't want to associate with the kinds of people that made this microphone very popular. But it sounds good, right? Anyway, let's say hello to some friends in the chat. And I'll start off with something really funny that just happened because I think we could all use a little humor in our day. Daryl Grant says, let's go Knicks. I'll say, okay. I was never really a big basketball fan, but I am a New Yorker, so let's go Knicks. Sure. Tyler's in the house. Hello there, Pope Wrench Tyler, who's at work, but he just quit because I told him to. And then begins the new saga of Tyler, the Wrench Pope, on his own. Nerdy Bob's in the house. What's going on, Bob? How you doing? Nice to see you. Rami's in the house. Good evening. I'll give you the single salute. I reserve the double salute for my friend Chris Pierce. He gives the double salutes. Good Wednesday evening. Heath is ballin'. Good afternoon. Where are you located? Because it's evening here. Maybe you're somewhere else. Maybe you're in Hawaii. I can hear you in my bones. Crispy audio. What if I get a little bit closer? Did I see the finale of The Boys? Yes, I watched it this morning. No spoilers, but I will say I was thoroughly satisfied. I really was. And I don't really remember the specifics of the end of the comic. I did read it as it was coming out, but it's been, 7 years since it ended, maybe a decade. So it's been a while, but I enjoyed the hell out of that episode. Not a perfect road to get to that last episode, but what is perfect? I mean, Breaking Bad, The Wire. Anyway, I thoroughly enjoyed it though. ¿Cómo estás? Estoy bien. ¿Y tú? Oh, you're in New York. So good evening to you and good afternoon to you as well. You were just saying it. I look like Alfred E. Newman. I mean, look, even though you were kidding, I'll take it. I never watched The Shield. It was not that I for any reason. I just never watched it. Michael Chiklis, Glenn Close was also in that. Am I remembering correctly? But I never watched it. So I don't know how it ends. So I won't engage. I mean, I don't think there's that many perfect shows. I think the Watchmen miniseries was perfect. I think there are certain but as a long couple of seasons, multiple seasons, I think it's very infrequent to have a perfect ending and a perfect, runway to get there. I never watched Sons of Anarchy. Never interested me for the main reason. I think Charlie Hunnam is a talentless human being, or he is just not a good actor. I mean, wasn't Pacific Rim great? It wasn't because of him. Anyway, not a fan of his. I do like a Ron Perlman, obviously, and I forget who else was in Sons of Anarchy. Katie Seagal, but Charlie Hunnam, good looking. That's about all he's got going for him in the talent sphere. No offense, Charlie. I'm not an actor myself, but I play one on TV. Wait, okay, so the funny thing I want to go through. Hello, Samuel. The funny thing that just happened. I check Facebook Marketplace multiple times a day. I look for collections. I look for books. I just look for people selling stuff that might be something I want to buy. And if you're not on Facebook, bless you. You've made the right choice. But when you open up Facebook Marketplace, based on the things that you look for or things that you haven't seen, it'll say it says top picks. Okay. Now, before I show you what my top picks were, I look for basically one thing. I look for comics or comic related things. Every once in a while, I check out records or people selling like Blu-ray collections or something like that. But that's about it. Now, if you don't know my background, this is relevant, trust me. If you don't know my background, I was raised Jewish. I am probably the least religious person that I know. So that just tells you that. Now, with those two things in mind, I want to show you what it said, what it showed me for my top picks, because I'm quite baffled by two of those choices. Also, I've been sober for 12 years. Okay, now take a look at this. Okay, on the left, we have Jesus Christ Sunday Kings custom Jesus Christ trading card. Okay, and then we've got yard sale, but there's Blu-rays in there, so it knows. And then rave clothes, specifically female rave clothes. I have never been to a rave, nor do I wear female clothing at raves. And then, of course, there's two things that were clearly picked for me. The Batman Hush 2 Ashcan and the DC Covers Artist Edition, which I think is from the same seller. But I think the algorithm is maybe confusing me with somebody else. I feel like that the algorithm is definitely confusing me for someone completely different. Anyway, I thought that would be funny to show off. I will not be purchasing any of those things, to be honest with you. So yeah, that just happened right before we went live here. So I don't know, man. The algorithm is causing problems throughout the world. It's causing problems everywhere. And we might even talk about that tonight, even though, like, I know the thumbnail is drama, but I want to address a couple of things. Ian, what's going on, my friend? I don't know why my nose is stuffy. I sneezed really loudly about 10 minutes ago. Just one sneeze. Doesn't make any sense. Outer Worlds, what's going on, Jeff? Joe's in the house. I am well today. A lot of things happening and a lot of cool stuff I want to show off too. Oh, thank you. Yeah. I was on like a 10-year bender and I got sober and I haven't had a drink in 12 years. I haven't done any illicit narcotics in 12 years. I don't consider weed to be a narcotic, nor is it illegal, nor has it ever affected me. I like to eat. I'm an old person. I like to eat an edible before I go to sleep. Yeah, that was kind of weird, Rami. No, I'm not paying $100 for a Jesus custom trading card to put in one of your packages. I love you, Tyler, but I'd rather give you something that's actually something you want worth that kind of money. Use clothes. Yeah, I mean, rave panties, I don't know what to do with them. I'm not into wearing panties. I never have been. Yeah, exactly. What's up, Prime One? Artificial stupidity. I mean, look, it's interesting because there are certain things, and I've talked about this. I know I've mentioned this on the podcast, Rami. There are some things that have algorithmically found me. You know, music or somebody talking about a book that I didn't know. You know, something that the new movie Obsession definitely was shoved in my algorithm, and it was for me. But a lot of times, yeah, you get shit that's just like, who is this for? Going to the rave in panties to trade Jesus cards. I mean, I got to try new hobbies as I get older, right, Bob? Don't we all have to? Rob McCallum, what's up, Rob? Oh, stick around, Rob. I got to show something. All right, well, Jeff, I will forward you the. I'll forward you the link to that. Hit the friggin' like, y'all. Hi, Derek. And Derek, hit a Nazi. Wish Texas would get on the program with that narcotic. Yeah, well, Mikey, the country is so ass backwards. Like the amount of money that Washington State or California or Oregon or any of the states that have been legal for a while that they make in taxes because they tax the shit out of dispensaries. Like it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. But as we've seen with what happened with Kickstarter this week, and I know they apologized, but we're still in very much what's that word that like that very old style kind of what's the word I'm looking for? I used it the other day and it's just like old-timey ways, Kickstarter's like no nudity in comics. And it's like, oh, fuck off. Thank you. Oh, congratulations, Joe. Is Jesus drawn by Jim Lee? Now you're gonna make me look at that. I as well Oh, okay. Well, good. I hate religion as much as anyone, anyways. How I became a pope is just, well, you're a pope in the wrench sense. So, like, if you were, let's say you were Dale Earnhardt's pit manager, that's how you're the pope. You're the pit manager, but we call you the pope because of all of the pope comics I've sent you. The algorithm knows what you're not ready to accept yet. You know, you might be onto something. I never say no to a good time. I never say no to a good time. Unless that good time involves alcohol these days, because I know that becomes more of a bad time as the evening goes on. Trip, I love you. Hope you're well. Good to see you. I was at a rave once in an abandoned Brooklyn warehouse across the street from Lavender Lake, Brooklyn, a decade or so ago, but that outfit tracks. You know, you just unlocked something that I don't think I've ever mentioned on any of this public thing. Allow me to tell a very brief story. Back in my New York days, and I think anybody who's alive would find this funny. I went to go see Ghostland Observatory at Prospect Park and definitely was on something. I won't pretend to remember what I was on, but me and my friend were driving back from the show. She was driving. Um, Her car broke down on the Brooklyn Expressway. Yeah, well, somewhere. We pulled over and she called like her boyfriend at the time or something. And we look across the street. There's like a 3-story brownstone. What's up, Ray? There's like a 3-story brownstone across the street. But what was weird about it is there was a person outside, like a bouncer, checking IDs. So we were like, okay, well, we got to wait an hour for him to come and figure out what's going on with the car or just get us home. And so we walk over and it turned out to be like not a rave exactly, and not in the sexual way, but it was called a unicorn party. And we managed to get our way in. But what did that mean? There was an absinthe bar and they were showing the last unicorn and there were people hanging out on the rooftop and everybody was dressed up in different costumes. It was the weirdest thing. And I feel like my brain is wants to say that it's not real, but it was very real because I was extremely sober at that point. Anyway, so that's just to match your story, Ian. Brooklyn, maybe not as much anymore, but like 10 years ago and before was a very, very magical place. Just a reminder that, oh yeah, June 3rd is Sam McClurg. And Sam, if you want to put the link, or Derek, you want to put the link in the description or in the chat, White Line Deadline 2 Kickstarter is starting June 3rd. And I'll talk about that as it gets closer, obviously. That is a prospect. Yeah. Oh, Ian, I'm sure, we probably crossed paths in the sense of like, we were probably in the same place at the same time in a lot of things. Anyway, okay. First things first. I'm going to be interviewing, and me and Jim are going to be recording about this, but I want to show this off first. And I can't show the inside. This is an advanced preview copy. But Bloomsbury is starting a new kind of book label series with Marvel called the Marvel Age of Comics. And it's basically the equivalent, if you're a music fan. 33 and a Third was these mini books that used to come out, and they still come out. And it would be like a journalist or a writer or whatever, or a musician would pick a book, album and write about it. Well, that's what Marvel's doing. And Jim Rugg's Wolverine Weapon X book is coming out in 3 weeks. I think it's June 11th. I'm almost done reading it. I got an advance copy because me and Jim talked about it, and we're going to record a podcast about this on Direct Edition. Okay, Weapon X, I love it. If you've read it, or if you're of the age of when it came out, like, how important this story is, how special it is, and Barry Windsor Smith doing all of the things, and I've done book club about it. This is probably the first big, Wolverine story that ever existed that was outside of the original miniseries, but this is the best. I'll say this. Like I said, I'm almost done reading it. If you don't love comics 10 times more after reading this, then you forgot to read it. Like, this is not just a love letter to Weapon X, to Barry Windsor Smith, but oh my God, this book is such a love letter to comics. And, we all know Jim. If you watch Cartoonist Kayfabe, if you've seen my interviews with him, like, you read this in his voice with his enthusiasm, and I'm so excited to talk to Jim about it. I messaged him today, and I was like, oh, we're gonna have one hell of a conversation, because it brought up my love. Yeah, I started collecting comics around, or started reading comics on the regular around like Wolverine, like at the same time that Jim talks about it in this book, around the time that Wolverine 10 came out, in that area. And I quickly got all the Wolverine books, but when this came out, like, this was it. This and Infinity Gauntlet as a 1-2 punch over those couple of years. But man, it's so good. It's so good. So yeah, I'm recording with Jim this weekend, and it should be out the week the book comes out. I'm gonna say now, like, I have a lot of interviews on the schedule for the next couple weeks, and I'm just trying to figure out, how to get the release out. But Derek Kim, so direct edition comes back next week. Derek Kim will be the episode premiere. I'm recording with Alex Party on Friday. That'll be the second episode, and then Jim will be the third. And then next week, no, you know what? I don't want to say it until it's done. There's a really big name coming on the podcast that I've been trying to get for a while, but somebody that he's on the tip of our tongues pretty much every month. Let's just say that. We're talking about him very often. Yes, you're gonna love that book. Rami, you are too. And yeah, I know you're a big X-Men fan, Rami. So 33 and a third is so good. You know, I the first one I ever read was the most disappointing one. It was I don't remember who the writer was, but it was Use Your Illusion 2, which is, even though shut up, Tyler. Even though Appetite was my first Guns N' Roses album, Use Your Illusion 2 is my favorite. And like, it was such a disappointing read. I didn't even finish it because, like, he basically bashed the shit out of the album in the first couple of pages. I'm like, okay, yeah, I don't need to read this. I know, I wish I could do book club again, but it's just too much. Like, I've told certain people, like, I even think I told Daryl, but if somebody else wants to host and like do the invites and do that for the book club on their channel or something like that, I'd be happy to take part in it. It's easy for me to just show up and do it, but I've got so much going on the two channels. So love you too, brother. No, I've never played any of those Lego games. Right now I'm playing Katamari Damacy, and I just downloaded Control because I've never played that. But I know that people do love the Lego games. I've just never played it. Oh, there he is. Somebody I wanted to mention and thank publicly. So this is Brad Zamboni Comics. He works at Nirvana Comics in Knoxville, Tennessee. And Brad was kind enough to send me news from the Fallout, because they had Chris Condon, the writer, in their store on Free Comic Book Day. And my jet lag's been kind of still, up and down. So I woke up the other morning, and I was up at like 5:30 in the morning. I read this whole thing in one sitting. Jeffrey Allen Love is the artist. Chris Condon's the writer. It's all done in this wildly silhouette stylistic art style that Jeffrey Allen Love is known for. This is a great horror book. This is a fantastic horror book. I like this so much that somebody gave me Chris Condon's email last year. Shout out to Derp. I emailed Chris yesterday or 2 days ago. I was like, dude, I want to interview you on the podcast. So we're just figuring out a time and a date. I got to read that Texas Blood, which I just ordered the first trade. He's got a new book out today. So I wanted to just familiarize myself with his work. But if you haven't read news from the Fallout and you love horror and you want to read something like really different, check this out. Thanks, Brad. I appreciate you, man. Thanks for sending that. You saw Kayfabe post about you saw a post about the Weapon X. Yeah. They would definitely do another episode about it, because they did a whole flip through of Weapon X, and it's Jim's favorite Marvel book. So I'm glad that he wrote that book, and I'm glad it's the first one coming out. The other ones, what's up, Marco? The other ones, Doonesbury, or Bloomsbury, not Doonesbury, sent me the next two books, which I'm excited to read. Spider-Man Miles Morales by Yatasha Womack, and The Ultimates, Marvel Age of Comics, The Ultimates by Ted Adams. Ted Adams is the CEO and founder of IDW, and then Yatasha Womack is a writer, a director. I'm not familiar with them, but I will be reading those. So, and I'll show one other thing off in a second. Oh, that's cool. They did Ween 33 and a third. I mentioned Guns N' Roses. It was a preemptive shut up, Tyler. Control is a masterpiece. Yeah, I've heard so many good things about it. And my buddy John, Criterion Comics, told me to check it out. So I'll play that next. Now I gotta buy the Use Your Illusion edition. Yeah, dude, I don't know, Joe. Like the first couple of pages just ripped the thing to shreds, and I'm like, why? This is supposed to be a celebration of the album. There are just some journalists out there and writers in general, like, or reviewers, people that are actually like publishing stuff that they're just miserable. They don't like anything and they take it out on the thing that they're supposed to review. I don't know. Yeah, excited to play it. What up, Adrian? Dracula. Adrian, I don't know if you were in here when I showed this off, but I got an advanced copy of Jim's new Marvel Age of Comics book where he writes about Weapon X, and you're going to love this too. You're going to like the way you look. I guarantee it. So glad I liked it. Yes. Of the Earth. Yeah, I got to check that out. That's the thing. Like, I mean, we don't know each other that well, but I guess you just, you assume that it would fit in with my taste, and it totally did. And that's what it is. Like, I've tried certain writers out there, and Condon was somebody that I hadn't tried. I didn't read Ultimate Wolverine, and I didn't read anything he did. But all it takes is one book for me to like understand the kinds of stories that this person writes or whoever it is, and then I just dive right in. I'm going to show off one other thing in just a sec. Yeah, Ian, I are there any Pearl Jam ones out there? Because there should be. If there isn't, somebody should do no code. Maybe I should. The David Bowie low 33 and third is mostly about Iggy Pop's The Idiot. Interesting. Yeah, some writers just can't get out of their own way too. The Oak Monstage. Here to say thanks. New subscriber here in Direct Edition. Stepped away from Comics Talk when kayfabe stopped, and my Beset Rug Tyrant episode brought me back. Well, I'm recording with Jimmy again this weekend, so I thank you for saying that. Thank you for saying that, because I talk about it often. I will never stop, not stop talking about kayfabe, but not stop giving them the flowers that they deserve for getting me involved and wanting to do this. And shout out to Ed. My third trip to Japan was just a couple weeks ago, and he's the reason why I went. Him and Sean. But if it wasn't for Ed bringing Sean into the fold, I wouldn't. Yes. Oh, is there? Cool. Ian, I'll track it down. I will track it down. Hope you're well, Marco. Oh, I'm gonna just put this out there to anybody who bought books from me the last sale. If you accidentally got the Labyrinth movie program, please let me know, because it ended up in somebody else's package and it wasn't supposed to go to anybody but the person it was for. So another one that I just got, and look, it's funny. I think a lot of you know that have been around for a bit here. I never did this to like the show, the interviews, all that stuff wasn't to get advanced copies of stuff, but it's really nice to be considered good enough of what I do to have publishers ask me if I want an advanced copy or whatever, or have artists and writers ask me. And I have a lot of, well, not a lot. There's a couple of really interesting things that are going to happen with Fantagraphics this year that I'm going to be getting advanced copies of, and then doing reviews with certain people or talks about it. But I was reached out to by Abby Denson, and she's a young adult writer. This is a book called My Tokyo Summer. It's coming out this summer from Scholastic, Graphics Scholastic. And she reached out to me because I guess she saw my interview with Kaneko, Atsushi Kaneko, and I think she's friends with Kaneko Sensei. And this is a really cool book about when she lived in Tokyo one summer. She was pen pals with a Japanese girl, and they decided to make a comic together, and they exhibited at Comiket, which is the doujinshi convention. I don't ever really have an apprehension if somebody's like, oh, it's a young adult book, but I would love for you to check it out, because I was a young adult once, And in my mind, I can still go there. This book was fantastic. Like if you have a son or a daughter in their teens or, 10 to 17, they would enjoy this just as much as you would because it really is an ode to self-published books and to making your own comic. She's in a couple of different punk rock bands, and so there's a bit of that love in here, and plus it's full of love for Tokyo and Japanese culture. So I'm gonna interview Abby in a couple weeks, and that book will be out in the summer. But I just want to show it off, and I think along with talking about people that I know personally who are creating books like Sam, like Jeremy Hyler, like Brandon Paul and Raymar and what Eli does with Cosmic Lion, Comic Lion, which works also. I think I'm happy to if I enjoy something, even if it's somebody asking me like, "Oh, would you want an advanced copy?" Like if I enjoy it, I'm happy to talk about it. There's no money involved. I don't get paid for this. I would love a sponsor for the podcast. Daddy needs to pay the editor, and I'm daddy. But I'm definitely happy to be the recipient of cool stuff to read and talk to the creators about it. You know, it's not all I want to do. I definitely go after guests that I'm a fan of because the podcast is built on fandom. Now, getting to why do we love comics? I mean, this is one of the reasons, right? Identifying with or feeling like you're looking at a piece of your life involved in somebody else's writing, or you're loving your enthusiasm matches the enthusiasm in a book like this, or you know you don't see yourself in this, but your tastes align with the way that this book is created. I mean, it's all about, right? That's what art's about. It's kind of like a reflection. Music is probably the biggest one for me, and I know a lot of you feel the same way. I think I had this conversation yesterday about how, like, I think music is the most relatable because it's like direct from like there's especially live music, like there's nobody needs a home. You don't, you can self-release music. You can go see a show and there's no barrier for that. You don't have to go to a store. You just got to go to the concert. But anyway, why do we love comics? And like the reason why comic drama is in there is because it feels like there's so many people out there that are just interested in the drama aspect of things, whether it's rightful or whether it's just like manufactured bullshit drama. I think about what's going on with the Eisners right now in that book Stardust with the one-page AI story. Nobody gave a shit about it publicly except like one or two people that I know talked about it until it was nominated for an Eisner. And it's like, oh, you only care because it's nominated for an award. You didn't care when it made X amount of dollars on Kickstarter or when it came into people's hands and people started discovering like, oh, there's an AI story in there. And it's just like I'm kind of tired of the people really only talking when they care or talking about when they care because it's the popular thing to do instead of just, Chris was the one who told me about it months ago when he got the book. He was like, yeah, I really wanted to be excited about it until I found out there was an AI story. And it sucks because it drags down. And if nobody knows if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's an anthology called Stardust, and I think it's based off the Fletcher Hanks stuff. And there was an AI story. It was Kickstarted. It's got a great all red cover and stuff like that. But I mean, like, it just bugs me that like people care when it's popular to care. They don't really seem to care when it's not. And there's a lot of that going around. Um, Also, I'd like to just say that real life, when you're talking to people in real life, or you're texting with your friends, or you're having like a P2P conversation, a person-to-person conversation, like that's really where it matters. I think the internet and the comic space, or the internet and the entertainment space, or the art space is such a fucking toxic shithole on generally. Like, I don't know. I don't know if some of you are experiencing some things that are happening right now with certain movies or TV. Like, you can't have I feel like even just 5 years ago, and chime in if you agree or disagree, but I feel like 5 years ago, we could still have conversations online about things that felt like an actual conversation, even if it was shared with like 30 people in the same thread or 30 people in in a Reddit thread or a Discord. But now I feel like you can't. You just can't. It's full of so much bot AI kind of not real, stoke the fire kind of thing. If you I just saw Obsession, and please, if you haven't seen it, go see this movie. Uh, Curry Barker written and directed and edited. He edited too. A very anxiety-ridden horror movie. It's kind of wild, and I went to see it and squirmed in my seat. And I'll tell a funny story about what happened at the theater. But if you go to talk, if you go to like, if you go to engage about it online, you get a lot of people that are really excited about the movie. They've seen it a bunch of times, and then you just get this whole wave of fucking uh, of like turning the conversation into something that it's not, and like talking about real life problems. It's like this is a horror movie that may have overarching themes, but like whatever happened to just enjoying a piece of entertainment as a piece of fiction? Like, not everything has to be related to real life, despite what I just said about art. Like, you don't have to internalize it, then externalize it to everybody. Like, I don't sit there, like, Andor was so glaringly like mirroring real life, right? But I don't sit there and think about everything I watch like, ooh, how do I relate this to what's going on in the world? Blah, 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 you know? Anyway, the way people are talking about the guy who plays the lead actor, the guy who plays the lead, Mike Johnson, I think his name is, the way they're talking about him, a lot of people online, as if he's the real person, like the actor is the person, the character. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with people right now? Anyway, let's see. Cosign Obsession. The whole theater was on edge. Okay, let me tell my story about this because I saw it on Monday. I like to go to the movies, during the week when everybody's out at work. Granted, there was still about 10 or 15 people in the theater. So let me tell this quick story. If you don't follow me on Threads, because that's one of the places or one of the only places I'll rant online, and I have to stop because I really don't like it. But it's a little bit of an addiction reflex, you know? So I bought my ticket at the theater and I sat in the last row. It was a small theater. So, no matter where you sit, you got a good seat. And I was like, oh, there are 4 people sitting here. So let me sit away from them so I don't have to like arm in arm with somebody. 3 minutes into the movie, maybe 2 minutes, these 4 people walk in, they sit in their seats quietly, like, no disturbance. The movie goes on. About 40 minutes into the theater, 2 of them get up and leave. I was like, oh, that's weird. I guess they were going to the bathroom in tandem. Then the next person gets up and leaves. About 45 seconds later, the last of them leaves. They left the movie 40 minutes in. And that's not even the most baffling part of it. It's like, okay, all of us here at some point in our life or currently have friend dynamic, right? Like you meet up with your friends, you go out to eat, or you go to a game, or you whatever, you go to the bar. Like it's a friend dynamic is a common thing. And obviously, when you're younger, you have bigger friend dynamics and more of them here, there, and everywhere. How the fuck do 4 people agree to leave that movie? You're telling me 4 people were so unnerved by that movie, they all left? And I pose it to you because I already had this conversation with a couple friends. If you went to the theater with 4 friends, whether it was 2 couples, I wasn't looking that hard, but it was 2 couples or it was 4 just, homies or whatever. If your 4 friends or 2 of your friends say, I don't like this, I want to leave, I'd be like, okay, I'm going to watch this movie. Y'all on your own. I would never agree to leave a movie. So I either wonder if 4 people really didn't enjoy it or the dynamic was there was an alpha in the friend group. Yes, it was so fucking good. I really want to see it again. I'm actually going to see Mando tomorrow. I might try and go see Obsession on Friday. No, I have an interview on Friday. Damn it. Jim's book dropped 11th June here. Awesome. Yeah, I guess it's getting that worldwide release on June 11th. What up, Mark? Someone argue. I saw someone arguing about it. I love boosters and Mandalorian. I came in and gave. Yeah, and how could you like two different movies? Boots Riley makes these surrealist, very message. He's got a very clear message or heavy message in his movies, and Mandalorian's just Mandalorian. Like I watch Mandalorian. I watch the show, and that's complete escapism from me for me. I love it. Yes, it is. And it's funny, we didn't even have like media literacy wasn't even like a heavily used term 5 years ago. But people just don't get it. Like they don't. I don't I'd love to hear somebody adequately talk about it. And where the turning point was. Like I can't eloquently talk about it. I can only talk about it from like personal experience of what I've seen, but I'd love to hear people, like a discussion about what media literacy was and what it is now. What's up, Kem? Exactly. Well, and that Derek, for 100% agree with you. And I'll add to that. And this can be, comics, it could be movies, it could be TV, but movies especially, and I think movies, and you could put it live music kind of in that same sentence. It's like when I go to a movie, I even if like it's a movie that I don't love, or even if it's a movie I absolutely love, like I am completely detached. Like I have always been able to completely forget about everything in the world and everything in my life as soon as the lights go down in the theater. And that's why I have such a problem with people that talk during a movie, that disturb. Like you might as well spit in my face, even if you're 20 rows away talking. I hate it. Like as a people, we should be able to throw away everything and sit and respect the unsaid and the said rules of the theater. Like if you're bringing your kids to a kids movie, that's a different story. I mean, like crying babies. Don't bring your fucking crying baby to a movie. Put your personal life aside and raise your child. But if you're like going to see a Marvel movie and the kids are like being kids, whatever. That's fine. But other than that, there's no fucking excuse. Threads is my dumpster fire, but guilty. Andy, I wish I could say it was even partially a pleasure for me. I do it just to promote the podcast, and then I get caught up in what they want, which is the rage bait type shit. The only movie I almost walked out of was Love and Thunder, but like I spent the money, I might as well stay. It wasn't. I mean, look, teach their own, right, Tyler? I'll admit I walked out of it. I didn't pay for it though. I did walk out of a movie when I was younger. Me and my buddy snuck into Train Spotting when it came out, which might have been 15, 14, and the toilet scene, and I was out. We both were out. Years later, I'd watch Train Spotting, and I, obviously recognize how much of a great and horrific movie that is and how much I like it. But yeah, yeah. And then I wanted to walk out of Van Helsing. I think that's the worst movie I've ever seen in the theater. Was it a vibe killer for the other foursome later? First guy drove. First guy drove. Yeah, but I mean, like, I would just take an Uber and stay. When I saw Mother Mary, these two older ladies came in at the last half hour and they didn't get it, and they realized they were in the wrong movie. See, yeah, that's a different thing. But these people had pre-purchased the tickets. They bought their tickets before I did, and I bought my tickets, 20 minutes before the movie started. So yeah, I don't know. Feels like TikTok, Twitter, and all the short form content just tells its audience how to interpret and engage with art. And it's like professional drivers, it can't work without a GPS. I do love my GPS, but once I know an area, I know how to get around. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think you're right. It is the internet that has definitely added to the media literacy problem. People reading TLDR, Reddit stuff and think they know what they saw when they never saw it. That kind of behavior. I mean, that's one thing. Like, I'll always be glad to be older than the internet generation because of the fact, and like, Ian and some of you others, like I grew up having to watch The Thing. We didn't have a choice. We watched it. Well, we did. But what I'm saying is like there were no exterior things sitting in our lap or on our couches or on our lap. There was none of that. We watched The Thing and we gave our attention to it. I did walk out on Dumb and Dumber. I never bothered, Josh, but I can imagine it was, yeah, yeah. That's not a surprise. Nobody good, nobody good. Nobody said anything good about that movie when it came out. I had just forgotten it existed until you brought it back up. People lost their minds in 2020, massive downward spiral. Jeff, you're not wrong. And we'll, not to go too deep into that conversation, but as a people, there may never be a full recovery. Just like post 9/11, there's never going to be, like, if you're anywhere of a proximity to remember that or to be near it or whatever, like, there's never going to be a mental recovery from that. And just like COVID, there's not going to be. Not going to be. I've fallen in love with going to the movies alone. Brad, I'm with you. Stay away from trailers. Go into a movie blind myself is the best way to experience a movie unless it's a big blockbuster movie. Brad, I am 100% with you. I started going to the movies by myself. You know when it was? It was either when the original release of Lord of the Rings trilogy came out or it was the extended edition. Because like I still am a huge diehard LOTR fan of the Peter Jackson originals, and there was a one day where I really wanted to see Return of the King again. I had seen it extended edition when it came out, and it was like, I don't know, I was off work or whatever, or I was unemployed at the time, and I'm like, you know what, fuck it, I love this movie. I'm just gonna go see it by myself, and that was the beginning of me like really loving the solo movie thing. There's a couple of friends that I would go to see a movie with no matter what, but generally, if I want to see something, I just go. I wish I went to the movies as much as I used to, but with this whole thing, it's tough for me to get away because it's all self-imposed work, obviously. The only movie I walked out of was Star Chaser, Legend of the Orin in 1985. Kem, I don't know that movie. I don't know that movie. I'll have to take a look at what that movie is, the poster and stuff, and see if I ever watched it. But I mean, you say that, and I think of Enemy Mine, which obviously is not the same movie. And yeah, I love watching movies blind. I like hearing a buzz about something, but not watching the trailer. That's been something that I have experienced a lot over the last couple years, especially with horror. Obviously, the blockbuster movies, I know what I'm gonna get, and I can stay away from the trailer anyway. Like, I'll watch the first full uh um what's the new Avengers movie, Doomsday. I'll watch the first full trailer and then that's it. That's all I need to see. Cuz Disney is actually, for the last bunch of years, has been really good about not spoiling stuff in the trailer, or at least the first one. Usually the second and the third is where you start to go into light spoiler territory. I went into Barbarian completely blind. Me too. I've been trying to relive the same experience since then. Yeah, I had just been told, watch Barbarian, watch it with the lights off, watch it at night, blah, blah, blah. No clue what it was about. And yeah, Krager knows exactly how to make you fucking say, holy shit, a lot. And weapons. I think I only watched the first teaser, which is just basically the kids running out of the house and the narration of like missing kids, and that was it. I think it's easier these days to want to go in blind. Having experienced many matinees with my 4 and 6-year-old and screaming, crying, and yapping and constant piss breaks at a theater full of children, I'll have my movie theater visits alone and quiet. Mark, that's a beautiful thing to say. Yeah, I don't remember that, but also 85, I was barely 6, so if I did see it, I have no memory of it. Sure, only one that really let me down was Skinamarink. Oh, I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it. I've been really not lazy, but I just been I think it was during the COVID time that I started to get burned out on watching a lot of movies. And I don't know why, because I remember going to see like Tenet when it came out because it was like the first movie I was able to see in the theater for 7 months. But I think it was like the aftermath of that 2020 to 2022 that like drained me of wanting to go to the movies a lot for no reason really. I still love the movies. Um But these last couple of like this last year, especially now that I've upgraded my TV and all that stuff, I'm watching more movies at home, and I'm deciding like, oh, I should go see movies by myself on the week during the week. 86 Transformers movies. Yeah, 40th anniversary, 4K remaster, all that stuff, right? I saw that. That's a movie. It's interesting. Like I've talked about it, I think, on the channel. I was never really a big Transformers fan, nor was I a big G.I. Joe fan. I was Star Wars, He-Man, Turtles, which is not like you had to pick a side. But DWJ really drew me into wanting to experience more Transformers, and I like the last animated movie that came out. I thought that was fun, but I want to watch the original in the theater again because it's been so long since I've seen it. And come on, Peter Cullen, we all love Peter Cullen. Uh, I will be seeing the Mandalorian movie Friday. Yeah, yeah, I'm seeing it tomorrow. I'm excited for it because just the theme song's playing in my head right now thinking about it. Um, yeah, I remember. You know when I started to really enjoy blind, like going in to see movies blind, was when I realized how much I loved everything that A24 was putting out, like their first year and two. I was just like, I'll go see any A24 movie. I don't care. And I think that kind of culminated with I saw the poster for Moonlight, and maybe I saw a trailer, and I went in and I was like, oh, this movie's fantastic, and then won the Oscar. And A24 has a great track record for the for the most part. Although they've done so much in the last couple of years, it's between them and Neon and Focus, it's like really tough to keep track of everything. But luckily, if you're an HBO subscriber, you can they've got like 15, 20 A24 movies on their slate usually at once. And I own a lot of them, like The Witch, Lighthouse, Hereditary, fucking Swiss Army Man, Everything Everywhere All at Once. What does that say? I'm Mike Chris Latta, the voice of Cobra Commander and Star. Oh, okay. You miss. It was like, I Mike. I Dave. So yeah, that getting into that, and the comic drama thing is just like it gets really annoying, the Valiant AI thing. Like anybody's fucking reading or buying Valiant anyway. Like they were already dying and they just shot themselves in the foot again. Like who cares? Who cares? The AI thing is such an interesting. I don't have really much to add to it because I, like everybody else is saying what I would say anyway. Um at the end of the day, like things that are made by AI, especially the stuff that you see on social media, like if you've got two brain cells to rub together, you know what real stuff looks like. I think for people in their 30s and 40s and 50s and maybe even 60s, I think we kind of like can decipher what's made by a human and what's not. I think it's the really young generation and the old people. And the old people, it's the scariest because, in a country full of not voters, they're the most susceptible and they're the ones that vote the most. I'm a Miramax man. Does Miramax still exist? Well, yeah, he did. I mean, he was a piece of shit, a rapist, and a awful human being. But yeah, Miramax was kind of like they were like the the banner for independent movies. I mean, despite the awfulness that he put people through, especially women, man, yeah, if it wasn't for Miramax, like we wouldn't have. I don't think the wave of indie films would have really been the wave of indie films that turned into, films that we all consider classics like a Pulp Fiction or Reservoir Dogs, or like would Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez really have the careers like Sin City, right? Sin City was New Line, which is part of Miramax. Anyway, we all know the impact of the movies. Fuck that piece of shit. I hope he dies in pain. How often do you go to a comic blind? Mike, I often actually. I mean, look, case in point, Brad sent me this. I know their names, but I've never had never read anything by either of them. Today I picked up, Absolute Green Arrow. I know who Raphael Albuquerque is, but I don't even know the writer. I don't want to butcher his name, so I won't even try. So pretty often, luckily, in the space that I've created, a lot of you will suggest stuff. And I have friends that, I that read comics, so I'm always open to that. Yeah, the creative team is almost it's not a significant thing for me if somebody recommends a book, you know. So pretty often, to answer your question in a couple of words, hey Tom, hope you're well, brother. See you in the next life, brother. Yes, he does do a mean Cobra Commander. Yeah, I mean that's right. That's a thing. Like posters, album covers. I mean, look, I don't have it. It's in my bedroom, but I had seen, I think the day that I heard somebody mention Dungeon Crawler Carl, I had seen the cover of one of the books, and the cover design is so brilliant. Like I wanted to read it just by hearing somebody say the name, not knowing what it's about, and then seeing the cover, which I finished book 2, so hell yeah, I can't wait for book 3. No, well, yeah, Christian, I mean, AI is definitely helpful for I think generative AI is terrible, but I think the existence of AI, which has existed in so many things that we take for granted, video games, special effects, data collection, like that's what it's supposed to be used as a tool, right? But it's the profit, it's the data centers, it's the use of the data, it's all of the things that capitalism does once it finds a thing to use to exploit fucking human creation and human beings, and it's the exploitation by that system, the corporate system, which is something that is across all of the things that in this country that we really need to concern ourselves with. And I'm not going to get off on a rant, but goddamn, go to another country, and I know a lot of you travel, eat the food there, and then come back here and try and justify that America has good food. Oh God, it's disgusting. I don't even want to have sushi anymore until I go back to Japan. Good Will Hunting, Rounders, Pulp Fiction, the list goes on. Oh yeah, Goodwill. I rewatched Good Will Hunting maybe like 3 months ago for the first time in, 2 decades or whatever. I forgot. There's one thing that movie points out to me, aside from the brilliant performances, aside from the fact that Damon and Affleck, like, they had this thing that right out of the gates, and people backed it, and it made this great movie, and Robin Williams and all that good stuff. But what it dawned on me, and it's something that really makes me kind of sad that we don't have it anymore. That movie wasn't about anything. That movie was about characters. That movie, like, oh, what's Good Will Hunting about? You'd have to be like, well, there's this guy, Will Hunting, and he's this, and he's this, and he meets Robin Williams, and his best friend is a construction worker, all that stuff. Like, they don't make these character movies anymore where, like, we were blessed from, even our parents were, but I feel like the 80s, but into the 90s, we got a lot of great movies just about characters. It's like about a situation in their lives or about a point in their lives. It's not, yeah. Oh, it's such a, how do you like them apples? But, and then Elliott Smith, and like, we lost him, but that kickstarted his career in a way that you could never imagine. And like, yeah, so much about that movie. I'm going to listen to some Elliot tonight just for fuck's sake, We got Raphael coming to the shop this Saturday. Yes, I saw that. So if you're in the Knoxville, Tennessee area, Nirvana Comics, and Raphael Albuquerque is going to be there. And Raphael, I love his work on American Vampire. He's a great artist. So, and the book was great. I read it today. Definitely excited to keep going with it. I hope it expands on a lot of the themes that it's going. I'm reading Musashi right now. Highly recommended. Why have I heard about that, Josh? I might have seen somebody post about it recently, but I definitely like that. Isn't the first time I've heard / seen that this week. Yes, it is, Tom. It's a new hot profit generator. We all have to live with it now. Yeah, until it. But you know what the problem is, Andy? It's like all of these new hot this one seems to accelerate the terrible so quick and so much. Yeah, me too. Me too. Minnie Driver was, well, still is, but yeah, she was awesome. It's like no one teaches her. Oh, the closest, wait, I want to see what Marco, the closest to what you're describing was the secret agent from last year with Wagner Moore, a solid character picture. Oh, I didn't see that. I know that was nominated, right, for Best Picture and maybe some other things, but I didn't see it. I'd like to. It's tough. Try to catch up on all the Oscar noms, and then you get lost in like trying to do that, and then you give up. Mississippi Burning is a great movie. I mean, I haven't seen that since the 90s. Gene Gene Hackman, and oh shit, who is his co-star? Don't tell me. I don't want to misrepresent a great black actor by, oh, it was Willem Dafoe. What am I thinking of? Huh. Anyway, Willem Dafoe. Chris Ware exhibit opens this weekend in Columbus. Oh, that's going to be amazing. Chris Ware. Character development dialogue are things that we'll never see again because, in your opinion, attention span doesn't allow anymore. Everything everywhere all at once was the moment I realized phones were a problem. Studios had to deal with it. Random stuff exploding to keep. Well, I will agree, but I'll also disagree on everything everywhere, because if you saw, if you had previously seen Swiss Army Man, like that's the Daniels style. And if you watch their music videos, like that's their style. Is that like their movies and their creativeness is very much, that's how. I mean, maybe going forward it changes, but I love them. I saw Swiss Army Man in the theater because man, that was that was a fantastic movie, and people thought it was a movie about like all it was about was dick and fart jokes. No, it was about the grossness of the human body. It was about being uncomfortable in your own skin. It was about all of the things that like make us human. And that's the crux of that movie. And people just didn't understand it. Not saying that you didn't or anything. I'm just saying in general. Um, okay, you guys are talking about Secret Agent. Anytime movie talk happens, I have to add that Wonder Woman 2 can't be topped as the worst movie of the last 6 years. I can't disagree with that. I watched it at home because I guess that came out and that wasn't released in the theaters. Was that during COVID? I was like, oh, I'm just gonna watch it. I put it on, and I don't know why I sat through the whole thing. But yeah, it might be the worst movie. It's so bad that like I don't remember details from it. But I do remember the feeling of like this is one of the worst movies I've ever seen. Speaking of everything everywhere, I saw Rocky Horror on Broadway with Stephanie Shu as Janet. Oh, that's awesome. There's some good stuff on Broadway right now. I'm kind of jealous not being in New York. You may see my work in films again after 8-year hiatus. Took a meeting today with the big makeup FX shop. Oh, Mark, what movies have we seen your work in? Always, I mean, like if Rob's still in here, another fellow Canuck, he's also done tons of stuff in movie storyboarding and good stuff like that. I love hearing what's on people's resumes because I've loved that work. That's awesome. Correct. I walked out of my house and took my chances with COVID. you like walked out of your house and found your neighbor like cough in my face. Come on, cough in my face. I need to feel something. Wonder Woman 2. Oh my God. Derek, why are you know me too well? Okay, here I'll give you my opinion. Wonder Woman 2 can't be worse than Venom 2 and 3 because I don't remember Wonder Woman 2, so it's like trauma. Like it's so deep-seated trauma. It's so bad that I don't remember because I'm a Venom fan. Obviously, a Todd fan is a Venom fan. Venom 2 I thought was the most offensive superhero movie ever made until I saw Venom 3. Well, first of all, making Venom a superhero is the fucking terrible choice. But I've had this conversation with multiple people. I think Venom 3 is the most offensive for a couple of reasons. First off, and we're going to balance this against what other people said about another Marvel movie. Marvels, people bitched and moaned about that. Fantastic, fun movie. But people bitched and moaned because there's a musical number. And in Venom 3, there's multiple musical numbers. And that movie can fuck off for the rest of eternity because it's a terrible movie. And I want to point out just one more thing and then we'll get off of it. There's a scene where that giant symbiote creature attacks a fully passengered 747 that has a exploded wing. And I guess they all die because that scene just cuts away and we never find out that those people lived or died. They probably died. No, just no. Okay, anyway. Yeah, Wonder Woman 2 was during COVID. Yeah. What's up, Rich? And Rob McCallum's here. I'm glad that you're still here. I appreciate you. Anyway, Mark was saying, well, the last one was Warcraft movie. Oh, that was Duncan Jones, which I never saw that. I worked on a bunch of Bryan Singer X-Men films. I'm not going to judge you. They are good films. That's all we'll say about him. And yes, he's awful and sadistic as rumored. Yeah, I know that. Like I know. Just like I know about the Kevin Spacey stuff years before, because I knew how he acted around certain people that I knew. But anyway, those X-Men movies are great. So I'm glad that you worked on them. Awful people can make great things that we can still like, as long as they don't reflect the person's personality. And I don't think that those X-Men films reflected the things that Bryan Singer is known for. Right? Anyway, it goes beyond bad. It's actually offensive. See? Exactly, Derek. Exactly. Nothing will top me forgetting that I watched Priest in the theater. You know, it's interesting because Paul Bettany, I guess he's got something. What's his name? Happy, Sad, Confused. I forget his name. He just had Paul Bettany on, and Bettany talks about Priest and how like it got buried for a reason and it didn't do well for a reason. But I never saw it, Rami. So Howard the Duck was a miscarriage. Yeah, but Howard the Duck also came out in what, 1985 or 86? Like that's a B movie or a C movie that can't be judged for being anything other than that, you know? The song's great. I love the Marvels. I love that movie. I love the chemistry. I love the humor. I love that it's like it wastes no time. Like they cut all of the fat that they could, and I think Nia DaCosta continuously kind of gets the short end of the stick and gets blamed for a lot of things. Candyman's great. I love the Marvels. Fucking Bone Temple was one of the most like visionary style movies and such a great addition to the franchise and to the genre. And now that she's going to be directing some of the Sex Criminals episodes, I'm really excited. Yeah, I've heard many stories, and I only know people that are associated with them in other ways. Kid Vector, what's going on? Have you guys talked about the Punisher special today? Oh, Michael, I'm not gonna harp too much negativity on it. I didn't hate it, but I I thought it was a swing and a miss. My problem, and I love the Punisher. It's funny. I was talking today or yesterday about this, about my relationship to the Punisher. He's my dad. No, I I read a lot of Punisher when I was younger. I didn't really take to it. I love the Jim Lee, the African, what was it called? The jungle, African jungle, whatever the team up was with Wolverine, War Journal 8-9 or whatever. But wasn't until the Ennis, it wasn't until Punisher Born that I really started to explore the character through the Garth Ennis runs. And I read pretty much everything that Ennis has done since then, Punisher wise, and before then. I know there's some other good stuff like Return to Big Nothing. When Mike Zeck touches the Punisher, it looks probably better than almost anybody else. I love John Bernthal as the Punisher. I think his introduction in season 2 is like some of the best stuff that Marvel ever said. Okay, you can go and do this and take him to those levels, right? But the Punisher show to me, those 2 seasons was utterly boring. And I recognize that the Punisher is He's immoral, but he's also a vigilante and he also takes out the trash. Like, it's the one thing that I am totally okay with loving, just for the hyper violence, and it's like no apology style of being who he is. And Ennis and Steve Dillon, fucking amazing. And then even so far, like, I like the Cloonan with Steve Dillon run, all that. But I just don't understand. Like, you're either not giving us, like, the Tom Jane Punisher movie. I actually enjoy that because it feels like it's a succinct full story. We get to feel why he's so the way he is. You get uh, taking out from the Ennis run with the apartment building that he lives in and all that stuff. There's flaws in it. It's not a perfect movie. It's not even, like, whatever, but I like it. The the the, the I have my problems with this special because, like, first of all, if you're giving us Punisher in continuity, which you have, right, with the Netflix stuff and the Daredevil show, and you left us off on that end of season 1 Born Again, where he killed all the cops, and, like, right, we're gonna see what Frank does next. And then you come into this, I have no fucking clue what timeline it is. I have no clue if it's supposed to be after, before. So right off the bat, I'm trying to, like, figure out, like, why does New York look like this? Why does it look like The Walking Dead? Why is this the same city that we just came off of Born Again, not reflecting that? So then, but there's just nothing. Like, it's just PTSD. It's the retreading over that. Like, none of it really felt like it was a well thought out story. And I know Bernthal wrote it, and I like Bernthal, but it just felt like treading on the same thing we've seen over and over, with zero, like, not pushing the character forward, not even moving him, like, just. And then the end is just like, cool, violence, yay. But I was bored of it at that point. I was like, I don't know. And Manucci, like, Judith Light playing her is great, but, like, I felt like that was kind of a waste. Like, what are you teeing us up for? I don't know. It just felt like playing the middle of a video game without really much to go on. And eh, I don't know. I feel like I said, a swing and a miss. Didn't think it was terrible. Didn't love it. Just for me personally, I thought it was a swing and a miss. Spacey was a fucking tragedy. Well, dude, when I used to collect autographs in New York City, early 2000s, I would hear that he was kind of weird to people. Like, I don't, his sexuality is whatever. That's it, like, but I had heard, like, he was really made some autograph people uncomfortable by, like, weirdly coming on to them and being weird around them. And I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. And then you'd hear stuff about him on set, and then, clearly it was true. Howard the Duck needs a crossover with Garch. Oh, that'd be fucking amazing. Did a bunch of Dennis Villeneuve films. One of my favorite directors in the last 25 years. Another guy, like, just like Nolan in my eyes, can't do anything wrong. Enemy is still one of the most fucked up endings to a movie. Sicario is probably the perfect example of how you create tension in a movie and just keep that tension ratcheted to a 10. Never lets up, not even at the end. So, and then Dune and Blade Runner, I got nothing to add to the praise that it gets. Arrival, though, I think that's, like, maybe his best movie. Fucking amazing movie. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, Derek, I can agree with that. Even though it's not how I felt, like, I'll agree with that. I don't disagree at all. Thank you, Kim. Yeah, I knew it was somewhere in that first 10 issues. Yeah, well, who knows what they had finished at the time, right? I'm excited for it just because of the character, the players involved. I like Ron Livingston, not Ron Livingston. What's his name from Friday Night Lights? Not Kyle Baker either. Anyway, and I like Aaron Pierce. Aaron Pierre. Oh, God. I like the two of them, Kyle and Aaron. Had its moments, seemed more like a vehicle to keep the character on screen and not too much else. Yeah. Yeah. I just wanted it to be, like, I would have loved an hour and 20 minutes and just get the Manucci story, like, completely there. Or at least, like, get us to the point, the polar bears. How about get us to the point of the polar bears? And then maybe the next one will be what happens next. My first Punisher issue is 19, drawn by Larson. It's funny. He's on record, like talking about how much he did not want to do that series because he hates drawing vehicles. But those are fun issues, and then like you can go even further, and like there's some fun stuff art wise. Frank Duran, Joe Kubert, like so many great artists have done the Punisher. I wouldn't say so many great writers have done the Punisher. In general, the reboot of Daredevil and Punisher has been a bit disappointing to me. The acting quality minus Karen Page. We love Deborah Ann Wool. I stand Deborah Ann Wool. I liked it. There are some standout episodes. I would say that the first episode of the first season arguably could be the worst thing that I've ever seen on that series. And then I thought the last episode was kind of wonky, but I'm not over the moon about it as much as I was the original Netflix series. Yeah, that's a interesting take, and I could see that. I could see that. I like Tom Jane. I always have liked Tom Jane. And I think the laundry or the laundromat or whatever that little short film on YouTube is like that. If they kept doing that, which obviously they decided to recast, and I love Bernthal, but that short film was so good. Kem, I haven't seen it. I stayed away from watching it because I wasn't interested after I saw the trailers, and now it's tough for me to track it down. Like I'm gonna if I see it on Blu-ray for like used at a garage sale or in a store, I'm just gonna buy it because I want to check it out. Spacey acted weird when my whole playwriting class went to see the ice. Yeah, I remember when that was. That was probably around the time that I was collecting autographs. I never met Robert Sean Leonard, but I did meet Giamatti. Giamatti's a fun guy. He's a nice guy. I'd love to interview him. I got to imagine he's got some love for the comic medium, after playing Picard, which was a fantastic movie and a fantastic performance, well-deserved award. I think he won an Oscar for that, or he was nominated. But yeah, I should rewatch that movie. I haven't seen it in years. Jonathan Livingston Seagull. Wonder Man was great. Wonder Man was fantastic. I hope that really gets a second season. What I'd love to see, and I love She-Hulk also. I'd love to see the two of them in at least episodes with each other. I think they would that would be like a great thing because they're both LA based, and it's like Wonder Man doesn't break the fourth wall, but I feel like they could chew up a bunch of scenes together. Uh, Dirty Laundry. That's what it was called. Okay. Frankie and the Goon. What am I missing on that? The Goon? The Goon, the comic? Did you know that most of you probably know, but did you know that David Fincher was working with Eric Powell to make a Goon animated movie or series? And there's actually, I think it's probably still on YouTube. There is some test stuff that they did together. I remember talking to Powell about it at New York Comic Con like 2012. Oh, Giamatti. You know what I think of when I think of Giamatti? Is Pig Vomit, because that was like his first. That was his breakout role as in Private Parts. You are the Antichrist. Um, but anyway, getting back to the Goon. Sorry, I didn't catch that reference, Andy. I'm a bad person. Um, yeah, I talked to him about it maybe like 2 years ago. Again, oh, he is Frankie in the Dumber Reel. See, I didn't. My memory. There was a lot of alcohol in between then and not then and now. There was even just in like the last 2 years that I was drinking, or 3 years that I was drinking. I probably drank more than most of you will ever drink in your life, which is a scary thing, but it's true. But yeah, that would have been great if. Oh God. Yeah, I don't know who thought that was a good idea. They have now fucked up the Rhino in two movies, like in epic proportions. What's his name? Alessandro Niavoli or whatever his name is. That was really weird. I did watch Craven, and the only reason I watched Craven, I watched it for free, but I watched it because Chris Piers had said how bad it was and how like how many what the fuck was that choice moment in that movie. I was like, I had to see that. And let me say, if they were going here's the thing about Craven. Here's the thing about Craven. It's not good. It was not good. But if they would have built it as a Craven family drama and just called it Craven and Family, actually would have made sense. It's like the theory of family in Fast and the Furious put to the test in a boring way with the character Craven. That's all I got to say about it. You know, if you want to smoke a little weed and watch that movie, you probably laugh at it, just like Madam Web. I made the prosthetics for Giamatti in Barney's version. His thing on set is stealing books from the set dressing. He told us he did. That's amazing. That's amazing. There's a lot of actors and actresses that I've heard talk about stealing stuff from sets. I love hearing that. Yeah, I mean, you're not missing anything, Kem, but like if you're able to mystery science theater it, even like just laughing at it, or watching it with somebody to laugh at it, like that's a thing. I'll say this, look, Madam Web, I watched it, right? I watched it, I think I got to watch it for free on my buddy's Movies Anywhere. I didn't see it in the theater. But I'll say this, and this is not to defend it as a quality piece of art at all. But I will say this. That movie is so what the fuck that it is completely entertaining if you look at it through that lens. The Trash Movie Bonanza episode is better than the movie, what Jim and Chris talk about it. But if you really want to just like, if you take pleasure in watching things that make you go like, what? That movie is perfect for that. Plus, I mean, look, I'm not a fan of Sydney Sweeney's. I'm a fan of her assets, but I actually like Dakota Johnson as an actress, and like watching them all do this thing on screen while knowing how terrible this movie was makes that movie even better. I dipped out on Sony live action Spider-Verse halfway through the first Venom and didn't look back. Andy, I mean, you're really not missing anything. I have seen it all, I think. Yeah, I think because I did watch Morbius. I fell asleep halfway through it, so I don't really remember it. I'll say that the FX in that movie were really good. That's all. So I don't remember much of it. I do remember the what the fuck was that ending, that post-credit scene thing was like clearly shot 12 months after the movie was made for no reason. But yeah, those movies aren't worth watching, but I'll say like Madam Web is fun to laugh at. Like if you watch it with your significant other and maybe a couple of beers or a joint, or if you watch it with a friend and just talk over the thing, like it's highly entertaining for that. I like the Eternals. I don't love it, but I like it from like it's a really beautifully shot film. I just don't think that they knew what they should do with Kirby's Eternals. And I think, and maybe this is a bold statement, but I think that movie not doing well may serve as a kind of like warning to anybody. I think what they did with FF was probably on the rebound of like, how do we make a movie look like Kirby's art? Because the FF, despite if you liked it or not, you cannot deny that it really did nail a lot of the aspects of Jack's art. Um, and I think maybe Eternals was like the warning of like, you gotta, if you take something that Jack Kirby created and you don't make it look like what Jack Kirby created, you're not really going to make it look like anything cool. Uh, so if they ever do something like, I know what's his name? I know Zack Snyder put Darkseid in or whatever, like 4 or 5 scenes in JLA and Justice League. But I think if they ever try to do something that is extremely based in Kirby's art, they're look at Fantastic Four and then yeah, make it look like that. I saw Madam Web with my nieces and nephew, and they had a lot of questions. Yeah, I mean, like it's full of questions. Like my first question in that movie was, why does the villain's voice? Why is it dubbed? Why is it dubbed? What does that dude sound like that he needed to sound more villainous? That was my first question, and that was not my last. I saw TMB, and that was all I needed. TMB, the Morbin time. Andy, why are you speaking in code? What is TMB? What am I missing? Marvel and DC movies love to make actors who have played Doctor Who into villains. That is true. That is true. What's up, Cal? I hope you're well, brother. They got to have that Kirby crackle, which, yeah, they got to have that Kirby crackle, but there's just a style. Yeah, besides the crackle, I mean, there's just a style that his stuff looks a certain way. You know, Silver Surfer looks a certain way. John Byrne did it really well, but Byrne is a student of Kirby. You know, he's a lover of Kirby. Galactus needed to look and feel, and I think the FF, like I said, regardless whether you like the movie, you can't deny the art direction of that movie because it was incredible. Thor Ragnarok had a real Kirby look to it too. Yeah, there's a lot of Kirby in Thor Ragnarok for sure. Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like, I think to me, as a comics fan and as an art fan, I think to me, like, the way the movie looks is more important to keeping true to the comic than the storyline. Because the storylines have come and gone and been redone and done in different ways. Like, sure, there's a couple of things that maybe you could say, like, oh, you could never do Justice's story. But I look at something like Sin City, and Sin City is the archetype for me, one of the archetypes for me of a comic and a comic movie that are interchangeable with each other. You could read the comic and you love it, and you could watch the movie and love it as much as the comic. You could show somebody the movie and then give them the comic, and like, it'll feel the same. I think Scott Pilgrim is one of those. There were changes made to it. Some of it was shortened, but goddamn, that got the vibe and the look. But I think the look, especially when it comes from a singular visionary creator, artist, whatever, Frank Miller or Jack Kirby, who would, like the Galactus trilogy or something like that, or even like, I say what you want about Zack Snyder in general, say what you want. I think Watchmen looked exactly how it should. Um, I think it really did justice to what Dave Gibbons put down as an artist. I love the FF movie too. Yeah. I wish someone would do a Bisley style Lobo movie, Robert. I mean, who knows? Look, Mark, we're getting Lobo. We're getting Lobo with the best person to possibly play him, the person that was born to play him. Who's to say that James Gunn doesn't tap somebody to do a Lobo movie that can do something that feels like a Bisley? But then again, some people might argue they want to see a Keith Giffen style, which I don't think you could do that on film. Um, but I mean, who's to say? Like, look, I think the person who cares about comics the most right now in terms of filmmaking is James Gunn. And, so maybe we get it. Look, I mean, I think the Supergirl from the Supergirl trailer. Now, Bilquis Evely's art is not something you can really translate to a screen thing, nor do I think you should really try. But I think it's got that feel. But yeah, the Sin City thing is the hill that I will stand on and preach to people. You guys all know, but anybody who asks me that I might not have any normal interaction with, like, Sin City is the template of how you make a movie feel like the comic book you just read. But that's a different story. You got Robert Rodriguez, a lifelong comics fan. You got Frank Miller, the guy who created it. So it's like, yeah. If you did, I mean, look, they did kind of what came after that. Sin City 2 was meh, and I didn't bother with the spirit. Maybe I watched 10 minutes of it, but that was Frank Miller doing his thing alone. But yeah, Sin City to me, I mean, I turned people into comics fans with that movie. That's right. That's right. You were recovering from your surgeries and stuff. So Ian, I think you like it. You're an OG comics guy. I think you'll enjoy it. I don't think there's a reason why you wouldn't. Yeah, the OG Turtles. I also think that if you want to like take that and then move it into the future, I think the most recent Turtles animated movie, The Secret of the Ooze, got the vibe of like the Turtles that we grew up on post those first 15, the comic. Like, I'm not old enough to have read Turtles as its original comic. I came into the animated series, the Archie comic, and the figures all at once. Then I, had to see where the source material came from. But I loved Secret of the Ooze, just like I loved the Turtles movie when I was, 1988 or 89 or 90, whenever it came out. I just want Bisley to be forced to do more interviews. Dude, I'd love to get him. If anybody could connect me with the Biz, please connect me with the Biz. I've talked to him in person before. He said yes, but I never got the emails back. Never got any interaction with what's her name at the time. I don't know if they're still together. Not Megan. Megan? I don't know. Yes, he is. He is the Lemmy of comics. Rodriguez burned his DGA card. That's right. I know. Animated paramilitary special would be fun. What? Oh, are we talking? Lobo? Having a single comic, having a single comic creator working with the director hand in glove. Yeah, I mean it's right. Oh, that's right. Yeah, it was the first time that anything like that had really happened, and we're all better off for it. And the movie was successful. It was highly successful at the time. I saw both Sin City and The Crow the first weekend they came out. I saw Sin City the night it came out. The Crow, if I didn't see it on the Friday that it came out or whenever, I saw it within a week. But I had never read the comic. I had posters of the character, but it was a tough book to find if your LCS didn't stock those trades, because like I definitely didn't see the single issues when they came out. And I had met James O'Barr twice after it. That movie is another perfect translation. Like you couldn't go as violently dark as the way that he depicted it, but I think they got as close as they possibly could without making that an unrated or NC-17 movie. But you know, Cam, and anybody who's part of the Dave Venger community, you know how I feel about that movie and that soundtrack and all of it. So I think that's 10 out of 10 all across the board. What's up, Matt? Hope you're well. Could you connect me with DWJ? I can ask. I can't just give out his email, but I can definitely ask Rich if I can connect. Shoot me an email to remind me, because after this is over, I won't remember right away. But you can always just message. You have my email, so I'm assuming for your show, not just because you want to chat with him, because I don't know how I'd pitch that. My old man had to buy my friend and I tickets for The Crow. My LCS stocked the book just in time for the movie. Yeah, it's weird. Like that movie came out and my LCS, if they stocked that book, like it was not out on the shelf. But then again, it's interesting to think. I've never thought about this, Ian. World of Fantasy, Collector's Kingdom, and Grasshopper Comics were my LCSs as a kid growing up at different points on Long Island. World of Fantasy, which was closed up probably after Death of Superman, not right after, but soon after. They didn't stock a lot of trades and hardcovers. Collector's Kingdom in Huntington and on Jericho Turnpike, if you're a Long Islander from years past, they had a bunch, but I don't even think that there was a ton in Grasshopper. I feel like in the 90s, even though graphic novels were really starting to come into their own and a lot of that stuff had come out, like I feel like a lot of stores weren't carrying them in the way that in the last 25 years they have. Okay. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. You still have your copy. Yeah, no problem, Rich. My LCS had Love and Rockets and 8 Ball on the shelf too. Scott at Comic Explosion had a lot of weird stuff. Interesting. What's up, Mike? Not really. I think the jet lag was really manageable, more than the first 2 trips, which the longer trips feel brutal. The only thing that I would say about it being brutal is that you immediately regret doing a short trip. But because I did it to kind of prove or disprove or prove to myself that I could do a 7-day, almost exclusively just hunting books trip to make it profitable. Because I know this might sound privileged, but in my 3rd trip, I have to be able to figure out to make it profitable. A free trip is amazing. It's amazing. It is amazing that I can do that. But as a business owner, I have to make sure that there's profit from it. So I'm happy to say that there was profit made. It wasn't as much as I thought it would be, but I also still have a lot of items that didn't sell. But when it comes to jet lag, it was a little bit more of a roller coaster. First night, fucking slept like 8 hours. Next night, slept like 5 hours. But not as brutal as I experienced on those longer trips. I got a lot of trades at a bookstore in South Street Seaport. South Street Seaport bookstore. I probably would never have gone into a bookstore in South Street Seaport, only because Ian, I probably was only there like 2 or 3 times in my life, maybe four. But how is South Street Seaport these days? Does it still exist? For anybody that doesn't know what South Street Seaport, New York City, Manhattan, it's a place where, they were bringing fish, but I guess there's other shops in there. Much like if you're a Seattle native or resident, Pike Street Market. Not Pike's Place. Pike Place Market, not Pike's. It's just Pike. And are those Holly books hard to find? I missed out on the yellow cover one. Not completely, Derek, but on that first trip, I think I only found one. And like the thing is about Mandarake, which is those, big stores that I go to, which is like the greatest thing of all time. I can check to see if they get restocked at any of the ones in Tokyo because they do. It's kind of nuts. Like you would think, like imagine going to your LCS and there's like like a, I don't know, like an artist edition that's been out of print for 4 years and you buy it. And then 3 days later, you go back and they have another one. That's kind of the vibe of Mandarake. They keep stock on a lot of stuff. So that first trip, it wasn't easy to find. Second trip, I think I found one. This trip, I think I could have bought more, but you've got to remind me when I go back and I'll get one for you. Because I've found at least one on every trip. Oh yeah, the South Street Seaport. Interesting. Well, it's glad to know it's still there. Any thoughts on getting bigger ticket manga for auction? Dude, that's tough, man. That's tough because like right now, no, because of the craze that started with the Jake Paul bullshit and like what's really happening behind the scenes with people inflating prices and putting it in a famous person's hands that we all loathe. I I don't know. I mean, it'd have to be something that like the problem is with that bigger stuff. I wouldn't touch graded manga because I'm just not gonna. There's no money. It's too much money to lay out to make money. And even raw, like the last trip at one of the Monterakes, there was a first appearance of Chainsaw Man. I can't recall the price. It wasn't cheap, but the condition wasn't that great. And like and some of the experienced manga people know that like finding a high grade copy of anything like that, a weekly, a monthly, whatever, a Zashi that's got a first appearance, like finding a high grade copy is just hard in general. So like if I had bought it and then tried to resell it with some profit in mind, uh I it might sit for a while. And I don't mind spending money on collections, right? That, I lay out 5 grand or I lay out 2 grand because there's a lot of stuff in there. But buying a single book, whether a manga or, like say I invested and bought a, Amazing Spider-Man 1 or something raw, like it's just tough for me to want to sit and wait with books like that. I like not the quick flip, but the books that I know there is a audience for that is a buying audience. But that being said, if somebody offered me a collection of stuff that had some first appearances or, some hard to find manga, and the price was right, I'd buy it. But going out there and looking for those keys is, even just the important books, not even key first appearances, but it's not easy. I did buy something that I'm going to keep for a while. I showed off, I think, on the haul, but I bought that first print tankobon of Dragon Ball because like you're not getting a first appearance of Dragon Ball unless you shell out some real fucking money. So the tankobon's like one of the next best things for people that are collectors. Anything new or surprising to me from my recent trip to Japan, even beyond comic hunting? It's just more of the revelation of like how good their food is, just like in general, how good their food is tasting, but how your body reacts to it. Um, I also realize like more and more, the more time I spend there, that like these days I feel like if anybody tells you like it's an unfriendly place as a foreigner, especially as an American or North American, it's just not true. Like people are super, people, especially because so many small businesses exist there, whether it's, a bookshop, whether it's a coffee shop, whether it's a restaurant, whatever, like people are really happy that there, and maybe it's just the places that I go because I seek out certain kinds of coffee shops or food places and styles. But I mean, like I just get really pleasant interactions with people. And look, that could be just a reflection of the human nature, how we act towards each other and how we present ourselves. When we walk into a store and our demeanor is pleasant, it's usually hard to be like people don't meet that with displeasure. But that was just kind of one of the things. And I will say this on a personal note, Mark, because I stay in Koenji and because I've now spent 8 weeks there or whatever, 6.5 weeks there. People know who I am because I go to a lot of the same coffee shops and spots, and I feel like I'm a half local there. And a lot of that is helped by the fact that Sean, and people know Sean too. But there's places that I go to, like a breakfast spot that I went to this past trip a couple of days, and they were so excited to see me because I was there 15 times over the course of a month. So it just kind of like every big city, I feel like the more you visit and the more you stick to checking, like maybe base camping in the same area, the more you really start to feel like you're at least part of these people's lives in a way that you're helping support them on a consistent basis. And that really does help foster positivity and good relationships, just like your LCS or something like that, right? So I don't know if that answered your question. I have every comic I bought since basically 88. Kem, that's a hell of a collection, and that's awesome. I still have the same Todd McFarlane collection. Well, I've upgraded my copies, but my ASM 300 is the same one I've had since I was a kid. Sean told me that spec prices have made things worse there, but didn't share details. Did he explain to you? Do you shop? I think no. I think what he's saying is some of the shop owners are just not putting those books out anymore. They're holding them because of that, because they don't know what's happening, because it's not something that's ever happened before there. I imagine that if you talk to people that own video game shops in Japan, um, they probably experienced that over the last half decade to decade, because like Super Potato is very much a tourist attraction now. So I think it's just a thing that will come, and it's kind of like what happened in this country with the COVID bubble. Prices will rise, they will drop, and they'll just be a new floor. But I think things will still be available there eventually. But that's, I think, what Sean's referring to is just that, like, you're not seeing those books being put out anymore. My dream trip is to, oh dude, the vinyl bars. Like I haven't gone to too many. I went to one. I would go if I was there, like if I go with somebody this year, or if I have friends in town while I'm there this year that drink, I would go just to check them out. But the vinyl hunting, the vinyl shops, the vinyl bars, like they really they have a bar that their bar is here and there is no other bar. So it's not, you can't compare it to anywhere because it's in a class of its own. 15 Breakfast Dave. Hi. Dave, I know you were busy, but did you have a chance to find any info on those 80s trends? No, not at all. I totally forgot. And I didn't see any. Transformers stuff there is so tough because, like, I don't know what I'm looking at, or it's not even that I don't know what I'm looking at book wise. There's so much like action figure catalogs that I'm just like, I kind of lose interest. But yeah, no, I didn't see and I didn't remember. Sorry. You got to remind me when I'm there. Just send me a message. I did have every comic. Then I moved to another country and then I spent my time rebuying. Yeah. Rob, can I have your old collection? I know you still have some of it over there. I'll fly over to Scotland to take it. Yeah, dude, it's great. And I don't know what your daughter is into, like interest wise, but if she's a human being that likes things, she's going to have a great time. And if she likes certain pop culture things, like I know you're going to have a great time. Honestly, like I'm not offering to go with anybody, but I will say this, like if you're there while I'm there, let me know because I'll take you to some places. whatever you're interested, like food wise, whatever. I love it there, and I'm really starting to understand it, and I'm really starting. I really want to learn the language. That's my next thing. But if you're going, uh, there's at least one or two of the episodes of Direct Edition where I kind of talked about certain specific places I went, and then all my videos and stuff like that. I do those videos to give people those recommendations. I don't know names of bookstores. I know Mandarake. I don't know names of bookstores because they're Japanese. But if you are going to Japan and you want to look at manga and stuff, hit up Sean and visit his shop. Like he'll appreciate it. You buy something, obviously, but he's such a wealth of knowledge. Like he'll talk to you about what's in his shop, and he's really hands on with everything. I have that defunct Marvel music imprint of Alice Cooper's. Yes, yeah, I've at least had several copies of that. Always a pleasure. Gaijin-san. Happened with vintage toys in Japan from the year. Yeah, yep. Yeah, I vaguely remember a little bit of that, even though I wasn't involved. And then, also Sofubi is another one of those things that like, that's an entire world. I don't know. I have friends that collect it, but that's, an entire thing that I probably won't ever get involved in because it's so intricate. Um, yeah, I mean, look, the cool thing is that there's no information about it, which means like, I'll say this, and this won't help you too much in your search for the card information, but there is stuff that I picked up on my trip that I can't find any information about, which means that like it's not on the radar, which, could be a good thing if, you're just thinking about value or collectability. Two Jews in Japan. I like the ring of that. I mean, and that's the thing, like, I mean, and Sydney, and then, like I've said this over and over, and I say this to friends and stuff. It does make me incredibly sad when I come home and I see the way that we generally as Americans behave in our own country to our own people. I'm not even going to touch how we behave around the world, but and I don't mean it to get even like intricate in our backgrounds. I mean, just in the way that we behave. Like it took me an entire month, 1 month, to see an incident of two people yelling at each other on the street in Japan. And it was because it was in Koenji, and there was a intersection. It's mostly people on foot. There's not a ton of cars driving around. Some girl just goes flying through on her bicycle and hits a dude on another bicycle. Like it wasn't a terrible accident. Nobody like went flying or anything, but she just kept going. But we all heard and saw the impact. And the dude just started screaming at her. And she, that was the only time I ever saw anything like that. Dave Andrews for a bus trip. No, no, no. No, no, no. I do everything by foot. I mean, I take the train, but a lot of walking. Dude, I tried Duolingo. I I I did like almost like a 250-day streak, and it just like there was one point where it just kept pissing me off and showing me and like getting me to try to buy stuff, and I was like, fuck this. Yeah, you've been, and oh my God, I mean, I've never seen you in person, but I know you're a tall guy. It's very interesting because like even I feel like I'm tall there. But I'm sure you feel like even taller. So you're like my cousin. I think you and my cousin are around the same height. So if he was in Japan, people will be doing that. But yeah, just like all of the things that I, as a 46-year-old these days, like the peace and quiet that I enjoy. I always try to be like kind of respectful to people just in general, like, like the politeness in society really is such a plus for me when I go there. And just, it's funny. I think about ink pulp, right? I think about what Sean's, mantra is, keep craft alive. And I think a lot of you, if you, especially artists, I know there's a lot of you in the chat and people that have some type of creative career. I think craft is extremely important to you. I know it is. I shouldn't say I think. I know it is important to you. And I know that it's like a point of pride in your work. From what I see in Japan, it is like maybe the most important thing in a lot of people's lives. maybe not for the office worker, or maybe, I don't know. But I related, I think about the bookshops, but I think about the food and the coffee especially. And I had this conversation. I might be repeating myself from something I said in the podcast. And I know it's maybe some of you aren't coffee fanatics, and but this kind of applies to everything, right? I had this conversation when I was in Osaka. I was at a coffee place that another coffee place told me to check out, run by a young Chinese man who imports Chinese coffee beans, which apparently is extremely rare, not just in Japan, but anywhere, I guess, outside of China. And so I went there because I was like, oh, that's interesting. That's like, going to a specialty shop within a specialty. And we were talking about like how coffee shops, coffee shops there is it definitely a place for respite, like for a break in your day. It's not about getting the thing and going. It's about taking, taking a break from your day and just enjoying this thing. And how when you go to coffee shops in Japan, it's mostly handmade, pour over, or, like done with craft in mind. And that's what I really appreciate. It's like you go to a coffee shop here, even some of like the nicest, quietest leaning coffee shops, and there's still music playing, there's still people talking. You go into a coffee shop in Japan for the most part. I don't know about Starbucks. I won't step in foot in fucking Starbucks. But you go into a coffee shop and it's like people are just peacefully reading or just being quiet and like enjoying that time. And like I really appreciate the fact that it's focused on that, and that the people creating the coffee, take their time. It's not, you're not getting a coffee and running out. Most people don't drink on the streets. I'm one of the very few that I will drink, cup of coffee and put the garbage in my bag or whatever. So I just really, as an American who has lived in big cities, New York and Seattle and Portland and stuff, I just really, it's a, and I don't mean this in a sexual way. It's a turn on. Like it makes me very happy to be where I am. Now, could I live there? I don't know, but could I stay there for months at a time? You goddamn right I could. Uh, could I imagine a national change in the USA that buys out comic shops and creates an interconnected online network? No, I don't think it would ever happen. I mean, like Mandarake, and for those who haven't been to Japan and don't know what Mandarake is, just imagine a Best Buy size store, or maybe, like a Best Buy size store that's just everything that you like: video games and figures and manga and dirty manga and self-published manga, doujinshi, and all this stuff. And it's all some form of used, lightly, most of the times, some of it not if it's older. And like, right, they buy it. It's the one place you can go to sell collections. Now, I don't love corporations, but it seems to be a pretty well respected and loved place because they put on conventions. We went to a convention last year that Mandarake put on, and it's like a comic convention. If a comic convention was full of things that you've never experienced before, and self-published with vintage, and it's just like an artist like Kago Shintaro and Miyako Kojima were tabling next to each other, and it's like, and then over there was a dude selling self-published kaiju manga. It was the coolest thing. So yeah, I wish we had some version of that here. I feel like we do, in a way, what half price books used to be, not what they are anymore. Oh, I bet, Cal. What's up, Austin? Oh yeah, well, of course, big gun, stupid rednecks. Yeah, that's right. And it's, look, Austin, it's sitting in my email, and I actually think it's in my downloads right here. And I apologize to anybody that has sent me digital comics. It's tough for me when I'm sitting reading this and reading this and reading, stuff that I physically have, for me to open up my computer and be like, oh, there's comics on here I want to read. So Austin, I apologize. And I promise there's a day coming where I'm going to sit down and read all the digital stuff that people have sent me. It's just, it escapes my mental to read pile, if that makes sense. And I appreciate you. And look, if I can keep somebody sane, I'm not exactly in that category. I appreciate you too. People are saying the Chinese coffee beans are incredible, tremendous beans. Maybe, oh my God. Oh, I didn't realize where you were going with that until the sixth or seventh word. I won't imitate that man because like I can't bring myself to be that willingly stupid on somebody else's terms, only on my own terms, which, you know. Um I appreciate that, Austin. Yeah, look, there was somebody that sent me some stuff from BC like a year ago, and I keep forgetting that I wanted to read them, and it's like, I will say this for people that read digitally, what's your go-to, like, do you read on your computer or do you have a tablet? Because like I used to have a iPad, then it died and I never got a new one because there is some enjoyment I get from reading comics on a tablet. It almost seems like there's a low for the act of like reading. Sometimes there's a barrier of entry for me picking up a book and reading because if I'm tired, no matter how much I love the story, like my eyes will start to get tired. Digitally, I never had that. Like it almost was a kind of like the light from the screen kept me, like kept me going because I was engaging my brain in a different way. I don't know. iPad, a Kindle. It's funny. I haven't looked at a Kindle since they were just text, but I guess that's like fucking 10 years ago. I read manga on a 50. Damn, dude, are you like, did you mod your PS5 or is there an app? Because that's fucking amazing. Like if that's real street food, and I don't think you would make that up. Uh, but if that's real, like let me know how you do that because I have a 65-inch 4K TV. If I could do that, especially for these old ass eyes, beady, I got my mom's eyes, so if that's real, I would read on my TV like that because that's amazing. I just said to myself, I'll reach out to some big places and let's see about it and I'll put you on the list. I appreciate that. And here we are. And here we are. Can you talk about drug availability there? No, nothing, dude, nothing. No. Like, I don't know about prescribed meds because I don't, but I've been told um, marijuana is not legal there. No, 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 no. I'm not going to incriminate myself by saying anything further, but yeah, no. I can't tell you about prescription drugs though. I mean, that's something you could probably, like carefully contact like a board of tourism over there or like an American embassy and ask them because they have to know the laws and how they're enforced and how, whatever. Like they stopped Jimmy Jams and asked him like he had his art supplies, but he had his vitamins with him. And they asked him what those were, and he said vitamins, and he had to repeat himself. I brought vitamins in too. I take like a daily vitamin, and I take what do I take? Vitamin B or something like that. I have some extras, and they didn't stop me for that, so I don't know. Oh, congratulations! What podcast, Austin? Sound off in the. Let me know. PS5 has a web browser. Okay, so you were just using the PS5 web browser. Okay, I was just kind of curious if there was a, like an app that you can, or like you were Bluetoothing it from your computer or your TV or something like that via the PS5. I guess I could do that. Thanks for giving me that idea, Street Food. Because my TV will connect with my Mac, so I can just do that. Yeah, right. You pair your Xbox controller to your PC and log into a website and monitor TV. Yeah, and I can do that same thing with my TV, but I just never thought about it until you mentioned it. So, am I Dom? Am I Dom? Wait, are you asking me if I'm Dom or if I'm a sub, or are you asking me if I'm Dominic Toretto? You are the cops, Brian. Because I am Dominic Toretto. Other than that, I think we'll just save the rest of that conversation for another time. Um, by the way, I haven't said this in a while, but if you could hit the like button, it generates a little gerbil. And when that gerbil gets generated from all the likes, it runs the wheel and more people watch. I swear to you, this is how the inner workings of YouTube is. Adderall and most of amphetamine scripts are prohibited in Japan. All right, well, Mark did the research. I was on Topless Toy Talk, Comic Watch, text interview on Comic Book Yeti. Oh, I did a pre-record for Prana. I just saw Prana. I didn't know what they were. And Comic Book Yeti, we follow each other on Threads and Instagram too. I get confused with that, and this is no shade towards anybody, but I get confused on some of these podcasts where like I look at their Instagram and I watch a reel, and then I look at the rest of their feed and it's like 5 different people on reels, and I'm like, who's the host? So I guess they have multiple hosts. Are you going to a Fantagraphics event in July? It's on. Yeah. I should be at hot off the press. Yeah. I don't think I have any interviews that day. I did start booking interviews into July. I'm trying to get way ahead of things this season, but I should be there. I know Woodring will be there. I think one of the, if not both, the Hernandez brothers are going to be there. I think they have some decent. I think they're like doing a big show this year. I did not. I did not. I looked at the one of the ones in Monterrey, but the thing is, street food, what I would want would be very expensive tastes that you probably can't find. The one thing I wouldn't mind having is Sean got a Devilman cell at an auction. I'd love to get something that at least Go Nagai is somewhat involved in. But I want Akira. I'd want something from a Miyazaki film. That stuff is so expensive. Um, yeah. Vapes in Japan don't have nicotine, not allowed, which is interesting because they have this thing that like you could take your cigarette in and put it in, heats it up and makes it like turns it into its own vape. I see people smoking them all the time on the streets. I did. I did. I'm not going to spoil, I'm not going to go into spoilers, but I was very satisfied with the way that the boys ended. I enjoyed it. I talked about it a little bit at the beginning of the show. But yeah, I did. I liked it. I actually just started a staff writing job at Comic Book. Oh, CBR. I own a few manga pages and they are hard to come. Yeah, the problem is with original art from some of that. Some of it'll just never be available, right? Because the publishers own it or the artists don't need to sell it. Like I'm not 100% sure. I don't think anybody can be 100% sure, but I'm 99% sure there is no single person that owns an original Akira page from Otomo. The only things that have, I think, ever been out there, and I could be wrong that there's no pages out there, but the only thing that exists I've seen on the open market is the Steve Olive colored ones. Same with like some of the big creators. I just don't think that they ever need to sell them. They don't, and in certain cases they're not allowed. And I had this conversation with I think it was Aki, um, about how like certain mangaka own their stuff so they could sell it, like Toshio Maeda. He can sell any of his art. But yeah, publishers probably own the bigger stuff. That's okay. Those cons in Japan. I just want to say goodnight to Ian. Ian, have a good night. I'll talk to you soon. Take care. At those cons in Japan, do you see a lot of bootleg comics, toys, and stuff? Yeah, Mark, bootleg stuff is, I mean, celebrated there. Comic-Ette, which I have not been to yet, but if you remember or if you watched when Ed would talk about Comic-Ette, Comic-Ette is arguably bigger than most of the conventions here, and it is just doujinshi. That is all it is. It's either doujinshi fan, it's fan parody doujinshi or whatever, or it's doujinshi as independent creations. And hundreds of thousands of people go to that convention, and they have it multiple times a year. So it's celebrated. I think there's rules to how they can sell it. It's donation based. So like if I made a doujinshi called Dave's Fantastic Four and it was me as the Fantastic Four and everything was just parodied of the Marvel thing, I couldn't sell it to you, but you could donate the money and then take a copy. So that's how they have to get around it. I probably will go to Comic-Ette this year because I think my focus is going to try to go to some new things that I haven't been to. But here, you know what? The book I talked about, My Tokyo Summer, which you'll see my interview with Abby Denson at some point before this book gets released I think in July. She creates this comic and goes to Comiquette with her friend who she created the comic with, and this is the building that it's in. Like that's the building in Tokyo. So yeah, bootleg stuff is a huge thing. In the way that we look at bootlegs, or we think about bootleg in the States, where like, oh, that's a knockoff. I don't see too much of that. It's just like somebody making their own version of it instead of the knockoff of like, oh, it's a fake Nike or whatever, you know? I have a Toshio color page with monsters on it. Yeah, Toshio's art's great. I'm going to get something from him. I'm most likely going to interview Toshio when I go back in person. We'll do it at Sean's office. I'll interview him. Sean will interview him, and then we'll each have the different interviews for our respective channels. First stop on the 2027 The Avenger. Yeah, comic. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I got to see when it is. But from what I've heard from what Ed used to say and what Sean said, it's very dauntingly large, Comiquette, where like you might only see a quarter of the convention in one day. Like, I don't know what the number is of exhibitors and people that go there, but I think it's over like in the thousands, if not close to 1,000. And so they set up, and basically, if they sell out, that's it. They don't come back. So you got to kind of just, I think you got to find the section that you want to look at and just kind of walk and scan and see what everybody's presenting, and then make, just buy. And the thing is, even, I mean, obviously with the, could you imagine that in the States? Like, the problem is that our money goes really far right now in Japan. So even if stuff was considered not cheap, it would be cheap anyway. But like, look, I'm not faulting the creators when I say what I'm about to say. It's not the creators' fault. It's the system that we're all adhering to. But you imagine going to Heroes and paying, $20 to get in, right? And sure, the John Romita Jr. and all those guys are there, but there's a heavy presence of a lot of you there, independent creators. Could you imagine if you just walked down the aisles and everybody's book was $5, and you're just like, I just bought a short box of 150 different creator-owned books for $600. Like you buy them for $5 each. From what I understand, that's kind of what Comiquette's like. Like nobody's charging, and look, once again, not blaming the creators. We know how much printing costs are. We know how much exhibiting costs are. We know how much gas is, all that stuff. But creators here have to charge, like even the littlest known creator still has to charge 10, maybe 15 for their book, maybe on the low end, 7 or 8. And it adds up real quick. $5 a book is what we spend on a weekly basis from the Marvel and DC shit, and some of us, bring home a stack. So Comiquette feels like the place, and it's not just books. There's a lot of artists there that are selling art. Yeah, well, I mean, look, I don't disagree with that. And when you say flippers, I mean, I think about it in the way that sometimes I buy stuff like I do what's your wholesale price, because like, with Power Pulp right now, it's that you're getting 50% cover price. But you're right, flippers would buy, because it would be like, right, the convention exclusive, and you'd buy 20 of them. But still, I mean, at the end of the day, and I'll say this, and not in defense of the flipping aspect or flippers in general, but look, if I if I thought somebody like Jeremy Heiler or Austin, who's in the chat right now, if I was like, oh, he's gonna be the next big thing, and his books are $5 each, and he's got 20 of them, and I give him $100, we both win, and he wins because he gets to go home and create more. So when we're talking about independent creators, buy away. Let that person be supported and make more art. At the end of the day, when we think about flipping, we think about the way that like people spec, they inflate, they flip, and they get out. When I think about buying a whole table from an independent creator, I'm like, no, I have faith in this person that they're going to be somebody, that their books are great, their art is great, and that people are going to want to read it, which creates, a scenario like, what we think about, like we talk, Daniel Warren Johnson experienced early in his career when people were buying his bootlegs, and then, anyway, There's a vendor who went all in on First Stray Dogs and got them all signed by Tony. And Tony was right. Because when you're right, because when you're and I know, Mike, you weren't saying, you were making a point on the flipper side, but on this side of things, I mean, look, I I think about, I talk about Jeremy Heiler, and there's a couple other creators, Raymar Brunson, who I've bought commissions from and bought books from. Like, at the end of the day, if I was able to support somebody's career that I believed in by spending a bunch of money with them, the return on that, and I do not mean monetary, I mean the return on that when they produce their next book and it was partially funded by me buying all their stuff, like, fuck, that's, if nothing else I leave as a legacy in my life in the comic world or the art world or whatever, is to have somebody be like, yeah, Dave bought $500 worth of stuff for me. I went home and I started creating, knowing that, like, my rent was just paid or whatever. Yeah, it's America. Nobody's got $500 rent. What happened though? Jim Lee, etc., used to do sketches for free, sign books for free. I remember passing on TMNT had sketches. Well, I mean, but that's also just a part of the way the world has moved and the way the industry has moved. But to rebut that, or counterpoint that, Jim Lee at Tokyo Comic Con, all you had to do was buy a print and he would sign anything you put in front of him, including the print. Tom McFarlane does not charge for signatures unless it's a CGC signing, but that has nothing to do with Todd McFarlane not charging for signatures. That has to do with the machine that CGC is. If Todd doesn't charge. I mean, look, nothing costs the same that it used to. Nothing does. A movie ticket's what? Even a matinee ticket's $14 when even just 10 years ago it was like 10. So, I mean, like, what happened is the industry became a business bigger than what it used to be. And these guys deserve to be paid because the comic companies aren't fucking doing it. Page rates are terrible unless you are a certain name, and the respect that these companies don't put into their artists is kind of a fucking is one of the worst things. I love supporting newer creators. Me too, when I can and when the work moves me. I try to be as authentic as I can to myself and to the work or what I'm reading. You know what, ballpark? I fucking love Anthony Bourdain. Anthony Bourdain did more for this world than more people I think will ever understand. And rest in peace, because I was on a flight with him once. I didn't have much interaction with him because I worked an event that he was at, but I did say hello to him. Like, he seemed very friendly with the people he was interacting with, and unfortunately we lost him in one of the worst ways possible. Rob, good luck on your day tomorrow. I hope everybody wins and all is good. People only flip to comic shops, I guess, back then. No online eBay. Yeah, and flipping, I mean, I think, and Mike, I have a big, I have a gripe with that word when it's used in certain ways, because, like, at the end of the day, anybody, and it's not what you're saying, but I've been called a flipper before, and I'm like, just because I don't own a physical comic shop, what is the difference between what I do here and what a comic shop does? They buy and resell comics. They also sell new comics, but most comic shops, really do make a big chunk of their money on, if not a lot of their money on back issues, because I know how it works. You buy a collection for $2,000, you sell, if there are big books in there, you sell the big books, you made your money back. Everything else is gravy. I don't have as much overhead, so that's my real difference. But the flipping aspect is the thing that I talked to with Yo about, Peach's husband, is like, they've experienced, and one of the reasons why the con scene here is not their favorite is twofold. It's the incident that they had with the Spawn release where people were literally fucking fighting. But they had an incident. He didn't tell me what con it was, but there was an incident where she was doing sketches. Like she used to do sketches for, I think, like $5 or $10. He told me some ridiculous amount. And somebody did it. She did a sketch for somebody that was so excited, and an hour later it was on eBay. And that is, I think, what we're talking about when we're calling people flippers. Um, and I understand that. Like that's a level of crassness that, like, anybody can see that you did that. It's not anonymous like it really used to be, because, like you said, eBay, and the fact that she knows the sketch that she did an hour ago. So, it's just the way that it is. There's certain people that really, that behavior really shines a light on negativity in the word flipper. I tell people I'd make comics if no one was reading them, for as long as no one was. I mean, for a long time, no one was. Yeah. And that's like, as an artist, you've got to kind of have that mindset. Create as if nobody's looking. And it's kind of what I've heard people tell me about my channel and the podcast. Like, when I'm like, oh, nobody's watching these episodes, blah, blah, blah. And everybody, like, the good advice I get is just do it like there's nobody always. And that's a great way to, to approach it. Do you know what page rates are for the average artist? Not really, because, like, I know some cover rates for certain people per company. And I've heard that Marvel is like a joke in certain ways, but people have told me page rates, but I didn't really, like, commit it to memory and plus, like, if they don't want to publicly talk about it, it's not something that I really should. Like, one of the weird things, Mike, about what I do, and maybe more so over the last year or so, because I am pretty, I don't know. I don't talk about things that I know I'm not supposed to, and people tell me stuff. And there are certain things that I will literally ask somebody, am I okay to ever say this publicly? Because I want them to understand that they can trust me. So yeah, I wouldn't, even if I did know specific page rates, I wouldn't feel comfortable about talking about them publicly. What's up, Comic Crack? We are dweebs in here, comic dweebs. And I wear that as a badge of honor. Page rates depend on so much on the company and the artist. Yeah, there you go. You said it a more succinct way of kind of what I started saying. Yeah. And it's a weird thing because, like, in general, when it pertains to me, I don't completely shy away from talking about, like, like, I'll say in a video how much I paid for a collection, because I have no problem with it, because I'm pretty smart about what I buy. And I want people to know that, like, the hard work actually does pay off when you do it smart. But yeah, I wouldn't want to talk about what other, especially not being an artist. Can't you make some good money bringing US goods to Japan? I don't know anybody there who wants to buy American comics. There's only 2 places that really focus on selling American comics. If somebody reached out to me and said, Dave, can you bring a short box of this, and this, and I'll trade you or whatever, I totally would. I have a couple of friends there, and Aki had asked me if, he could grab I had a full Micronauts run. So I brought that for him, which was, whatever, 80 something books or something. So if somebody asked me, but I wouldn't know where to, because Sean doesn't sell American stuff. Maybe you talked about this, but how's your experience being on the Ink Pulp show? Excuse me, Mark. I fucking loved it. I had such a good time with them. Like, and what I said in the podcast, and I think what I even said in the Patreon episode. And if you haven't watched the Ink Pulp episode, please watch it. Hit the like button. You don't have to drop a comment, but it's appreciated. I had so much fun because I don't get to have people ask me questions about stuff that I do on a daily basis, or the things I experience. I don't think I'm a special boy. I do think I have a very unique perspective especially over the last 5 years in comics, because I've happily and documented walking into 50 to 100 shops over the last 5 years, uh, cons all over the country and the world. I talk to people. I'm in comic shops all the time, like doing kind of mental field research and also getting to know shop owners. And then I sell, so I see both sides of it. I'm not an industry professional, but I think I see the whole. I get a nice look at the industry from the other side of things on all fronts. So I loved it, and I'm gonna pitch to Sean maybe us doing something every 4 to 6 months on one of our channels, like have him, Eric, and Mateo on, and we talk shop. We talk about the industry from perspectives. I I love it. I don't think, like I said, I don't think I'm special. I do think that I have a perspective because I don't know about y'all in the chat. I try to watch a nice plethora of different perspective um views on the comic industry, and especially when it comes to ink pulp, they have a lot of different guests. And there are times where I'm just yelling. I'm like, "Oh, I've got something to say about that. That really adds to that," like that kind of thing. Um, and I'm so grateful that we were able to have that conversation. I hope we get to have it again. No, I mean, I first of all would not bring food into another country unless it was, like some candy. I brought Sean some peanut butter cups for the kids, but no, I am not going to become that kind of. If it's something that I have available to me or something that's in my wheelhouse, like, and somebody's like, "Oh, can you grab me 25 copies of, the newest Playboy magazine?" Yeah, sure, I bring it in. TK45. Thank you for being here, and I appreciate it. And I enjoy seeing who your icon is. We love Chun-Li. How could you not? I use fists, but I was kicking with my leg because my body's weird. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate that. I had a great time. Recently picked up the Spawn Compendium, half because of your Todd. Let me know what you think about it. I have the first one. It took me a while to get through it. I love Todd's art. I love Capullo's art. There is unnecessarily so much text in some of those issues or some of the chunks, but I stand Spawn, and I will still always support the Todd father. Everybody tickle smash that that like button. Oh, have they ever searched your stuff going in or out? Not me personally, no. But I mean, you see on the X-ray machine, you see like Gachapon and books. I only got searched in one country, and that was Canada. And I love Canada. And I was not in my right mind going to the airport, so they should have searched me. This was years ago. Did I see a bump in subs of interest after the show? Yes, I did. I think I saw more of a bump in the podcast, but I definitely saw a bump of subscribers that week, social media, all that stuff. It definitely did what I was hoping it would do. And it's funny because I don't really talk about views and stuff like that too much, but what's been the biggest bump to direct edition over the last year? One name, Matt Fraction. Matt Fraction on anything that I've done in the 2 interviews is just like injecting anabolic steroids right into the veins of the channel. And I love Matt, and we have something planned for the end of the year, or towards the end of the year, which is going to be great. And I love talking to Matt. But no, the ink pulp appearance really helped. And honestly, I love having those kind of conversations with people that are really interested in that in getting a perspective from me. And I never thought that I'd be in a position to have like a perspective that people wanted to hear about in a professional setting like that, which is not really professional, but yeah, I have fun, and I love those guys. Dude, I mean, you could see it on my face, like how much fun I was having with Chip and Matt. And I love whenever I the email chain. I wish I could show it, but I don't want to breach privacy. But the email chain is just as funny as that episode was. Ewok's in the house, Mr. Ewok 1. By the way, let's shout out Mr. Ewok 1 right now. If you are not familiar with this man, this myth, this New York legend, he's got a comic coming out. Drop a link if you want, or when's the pre-order go live? He's right. He's insightful. He's witty. He's got a little bit of like all of us, like you can identify with some of his like weirdness or tics or like not self-deprecating, but like definitely some of his intricacies. But he's at the end of the day, he's also, creatively just a force to be reckoned with. And he has cultivated Chip too, but like Fraction has cultivated fandom from so many different pockets of comics and writing. And I think that's really what the appeal across the board is with Matt, is like, there are people that love his work from the Iron Man and Hawkeye stuff. There's people that love his work from Sex Criminals that may not, be in the Marvel world. There's now people loving him for what he's doing with Batman, or, it's just like, I think it's, he's got a very admirable career path. Some people are that way, but don't come across well. Yeah, he sure does. Everything goes live Friday at noon Eastern. Mr. Ewok 1. Follow him on Instagram. And then you get even more details, including that great trailer he dropped today. Well, Instagram post. Yep, exactly. So yeah, I'll probably get, thanks for everybody being here. Stick around for a little bit, but I just want to say thank you. I'm very grateful to have a community that wants to hang out and talk. This weekend, I've got a little bit of a rant video coming. I think I'm going to publish as this weekend's video. I dropped it in the Patreon a couple of days ago to kind of see if people enjoyed it. And they did. So the Patreon, let me just pump the Patreon a little bit. $5 a month. That's it. One tier, $5 a month. I have a free tier, but if I'm going to make exclusive content, support the channel. Links in the description below. Bonus videos from both channels. Usually a rant from Direct Edition. 2 flip through videos from West Coast Avengers. Every 2 months, there's a private sale, which is only available to the Patreon. Help support the editing costs, the thumbnail costs. I pay people to help me because as much as it's easy to do the fucking thing, AI, I'm never going to make my content using AI. Once in a while, I'll have a photo where I remove a background with the Instagram AI. That's about as far as I go. So the Patreon, links in the description below. Direct Edition's coming back next week. Next Monday morning, Direct Edition returns with Derek Kirk Kim, the writer, creator, artist behind Last Mermaid, the writer, creator with Jacob Perez as the artist behind Royals, animation background, Jean Lin Yang, he's done books with. Derek Kirk Kim's on the podcast. I'm recording with some awesome people this week, including Alex Pardee and James Rugg. You're going to see both of those episodes. James, this book comes out June 11th. And Alex Pardee, if you're in New York, Ewok, you best be going. He's got a show opening up May 30th, Dream Bleeder at Harmon Galleries in New York. I can't be there. Alex is one of the most talented artists on the fucking planet. So go check out that show and check out the stuff that he's already posted on social media. He does a lot of cool promo videos. It's almost as creative as his art. It's kind of insane and unfair. So Direct Edition returns next week. It's on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, Amazon. Stream it, like it, subscribe to it. And I'll be back selling next Wednesday, the 27th, doing a full, mostly new inventory sale right here. I appreciate you, and forgive me if I murder everybody. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, support your local comic stores, support indie creators. Come back, hit the like button, support me with a comment, or buy a book. That's really it. Other than that, I love you. I love comics. I love all of the comics that I've read recently. And thank you to Brad for sending that out. News from the Fallout. Thank you to Amy Denson for getting Tokyo Summer to me. And thank you to Jimmy Rugg. or getting me an advance copy of that. It's been a good night. West Coast Avengers. Enjoy the rest of your week and take care of yourselves.